Chapter 5 Kombucha Tea Brewing Method. There are too many main methods of brewing kombucha, each one with different advantages and disadvantages. Choosing a method will depend on your personal preferences, particularly as to which method will work best for you and your family. You can also try out the different brewing methods before settling on one, or switch methods if what you are doing isn't working anymore. Continuous brewing. This method involves constantly having the same jar of kombucha brewing new tea as you add to it and drink from it at will. This method is much similar to the way that kombucha has been made since ancient times. Essentially, once your first batch is fermented, you can start to drink from a tap in the jar, and then as it gets low, add new tea on top. Advantages of continuous brewing. Safer. Because the SCOBY is handled less in this method, there is a much lower risk of becoming contaminated in between batches, making the kombucha much safer for you. Easier. Since you don't have to thoroughly clean your system every time you're starting a new batch, it's much easier to continuously brew. Faster. Once you get the system going, new kombucha brews much faster because you're not having to start from scratch every time, which means a more continuous supply of fresh kombucha. Disadvantages of continuous brewing. Sour. Continuous brewing can result in sour kombucha because the fermentation cycle is disrupted and some of the bacteria that start the cycle and prevent too much acid buildup become less active. Unpredictable. Because you're constantly adding new tea and taking out fermented tea, the process, and therefore the flavor, becomes unpredictable, and it's difficult to get consistency with the batches. Batch brewing. With batch brewing, you brew your kombucha one batch at a time. Once the fermentation process is complete, you'll boil all your kombucha, clean your system, and you can use the same SCOBY as started for a brand new batch. Because you will be handling the SCOBY more often, it's important to maintain strict sterile procedures to avoid contamination. Advantages of batch brewing. Healthier. Because the kombucha is allowed to go through all the stages of fermentation, it has a more complex system of bacteria, which provides more health benefits. Consistency. Each batch will have the same base flavor, which will allow you to develop recipes to create flavors that you and your family love that will taste the same every time. Sweeter. Kombucha that is brewed in batches has a much sweeter flavor than continuously brewed kombucha and is rarely too sour. Disadvantages of batch brewing. Harder. Batch brewing is more difficult in that it requires more time and work on your part to clean out the system between batches and to do all of the bottling every time a batch is done. Bottom line. The more you read about the differences between continuous brewing versus batch brewing, the more you will see that there are people who believe strongly in one method over the other. However, you will have to decide for yourself which method will work best for you and gives you the most health benefits. In the next part, we will uncover different tactics to flavoring your kombucha tea.